Assalamu alaikum. The incident I'm going to share today is one of the scariest true events among many that I know. Without wasting any time, let's go straight into it. The story actually starts with me. When I was still in my mother's womb, I was born in a very remote village. You could say deep inside nature. There wasn't even a trace of electricity back then. My father worked in Dhaka, so he lived there. I used to live with my mother and grandmother. Anyway, going back to the incident, my mother used to finish all the household work before evening. Our house was surrounded by a bamboo fence, and around 10 to 12 hands away from the house was the tube well. Another 5 to 6 hands from there stood a huge Hijol tree. One day, after finishing all her work, just as my mother was about to enter the house, the Maghrib azan began. That's when she suddenly remembered. She forgot to bring water. Without wasting any time, she went to the tube well and started pumping water. At that moment, she kept hearing a crying sound, but she ignored it. Even after pumping water, she heard it again, the same way, as if a child was crying somewhere. This time, she focused more. The crying sound was coming from the direction of the Hijol tree. She took a few steps forward and saw a little child, maybe 2 or 3 years old, sitting there and crying. My mother asked, "Who are you? How did you come here? Why are you crying? Which house do you belong to?" Saying this, my mother stepped closer and reached out her hand. "Come to me. Come into my arms." But the moment she said that, the child suddenly transformed into a huge, terrifying figure and started laughing loudly, an eerie, twisted laugh. Seeing this, my mother was frozen in fear. What terrified her even more was that despite the massive body, the creature still had the face of a child and a horrible, rotten smell. Right there, my mother fainted. When she regained consciousness later, my grandmother asked, "Why did you go there? We called you so many times, but you didn't listen." My mother was shocked because she didn't hear anyone calling her at all. That was the incident before my birth. After that, I was born. And from the moment I was born, I used to look up at the ceiling constantly, neither crying nor smiling. After many attempts, they got a talisman from a Huzur. Only then did I become normal. But the Huzur warned my mother strictly, make sure the talisman is never lost, especially when he is 13 or 14 years old. Time passed well. I was in class 6 when one day I went to play far from school. While returning home, evening had almost arrived. I went to take a shower and noticed the talisman wasn't on my hand anymore. I didn't tell my mother because she would scold me. I thought I would search for it the next day in the field. But not telling her, that was the mistake I didn't understand back then. That night, I was lying in bed, looking toward the window and thinking, where could the talisman have fallen? From my window, I could clearly see the tube well and even the Hijol tree in the distance. Thinking and thinking, I fell asleep. Suddenly, the sound of the tube well being pumped woke me up. Who pumps water this late at night? Mother? No. Why would Mother go out so late? I peeked through the window. No one was there. I sat back down. The pumping sound stopped, but then began a heartbreaking, suffocating cry. A cry filled with pain. Who cries like that this late at night? Mother? No. Why would Mother cry? While thinking, I realized the crying sound was coming from right beside my window, as if someone was sitting just outside, crying. Who? Who is crying? Who? I asked several times. Suddenly, the azan started, and the crying disappeared into silence. I couldn't sleep anymore. I thought I would tell my mother in the morning, but I forgot. At night, my mother called me to apply oil to my head. I went to her and suddenly remembered. I asked, "Mom, did you pump water last night, or did you cry last night?" Hearing this, my mother stared at me with a strange, terrified look. She held me tightly. Right then, she understood. The talisman was missing. She scolded me. "Where is the talisman?" I said, "Mom, I think it fell somewhere." My mother said, From today, you will sleep with me. Tomorrow, we're going to the Huzur." That night, after dinner, someone knocked on the door. We opened it and saw my father had come home. Naturally, I had to sleep in my own room. I didn't know that sleeping alone that night would become one of the biggest, most terrifying chapters of my life. I fell asleep without thinking much. A loud sound, like someone kicking the tube well hard, woke me up. I was irritated. I didn't sleep last night either. Who could it be? But this time, it wasn't the pumping sound. The crying had returned, a whimpering cry, and it was coming from right beside my window. My body felt heavier. An unknown fear began crawling through my chest. Terrified, I said, "Who? Who is it? Who's crying? Who are you?" And then I opened the window. Mother had told me not to, but I still did. There was no one outside. I came back and lay on the bed. Suddenly, a cold gust of air swept across the room. The whole room turned freezing. And with that cold came a foul, rotten smell. I couldn't tell if it was a dead fish or something else. I covered my nose, but it didn't help. The room kept getting colder. Even though it was the middle of summer, the blanket couldn't warm me. Then, I could feel a presence in the room. A terrifying presence. Fear froze my whole body. I couldn't call anyone. I couldn't move my hands or legs. Then I heard it. Someone running under my bed, left to right, right to left. Over and over. My voice wouldn't come out. And then I felt it. Something pressed onto my legs. Like a ball of ice. Hard. Cold. Painful. I don't know how long I endured it. When I opened my eyes again, I was in my father's arms. Everyone was standing around me. They said they heard my faint groaning and came to check. They found me half on the bed and half on the floor. I told them everything. Some believed me, some didn't. But my mother noticed something. A mark on my leg. Later, we saw, right at the spot where I felt the icy pressure, there was a fingerprint-like mark. We couldn't tell how many fingers, but the mark was still there, even today. After that, my father took us to Dhaka. Many years later, I went back to that place. It has developed a lot. But even today, I cannot sleep alone. I feel as if someone climbs onto my chest. Or sometimes I smell that same rotten stench. I don't know what it was that night. But if it were just a dream, why would the mark still remain on my leg till today? This was the incident. I tried to tell it exactly the way I heard it from the person involved. Let me know how it felt. Stay well. That's all for today. Goodbye.